Joining us now to talk more is Democratic Senator from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen. He's also a member of the Appropriations, Foreign Relations, and Budget committees. Senator Van Hollen, thank you so much for joining us.
It's good to be with you, Anna.
What do you make of this latest headline? President Zelensky saying he's willing to give up his presidency if it means peace for his country.
Well, President Zelensky from the beginning has been willing to make sacrifices for the greater good of the Ukrainian people. Unfortunately, we're at a time when President Trump has thrown the Ukrainian people under the bus. He has adopted the narrative of Putin and shown weakness in the face of Putin's bullying. Nobody wants this war to end more than the people of Ukraine. As you reported, they've lost thousands of people. But they also care about their democracy. They care about their sovereignty. And that's why it's so despicable to see Trump essentially side with Putin at this moment.
Well, look, nobody wants a bully to be able to take more territory. And that's what some are saying may end up being the case in order to end the war. Everything that Trump has been saying the last several days, do you think he's cozying up to Putin, or is he just trying to end the bloodshed?
No, this is about cozying up to Putin because the Ukrainian people want to end the bloodshed. I met with Zelensky last weekend at the Munich Security Conference. They want peace more than anybody, but they also don't want to be thrown under the bus. And what Donald Trump did was begin by giving up leverage with respect to security guarantees, with respect to territory. That's not the way you go into a negotiation, especially one with a bully like Putin. So what we've seen here from Donald Trump is not America first. This is America in retreat, and Russia and China are rushing to fill the void. So this will be America last at the end of the day.
And so much money has been given to Ukraine to try to keep Russia at bay. And in Trump's keynote speech at CPAC yesterday, he said, look, other countries are giving Ukraine money as a loan, but the United States just gave it away. And now what he's asking Ukraine to do, asking Zelensky to do, is make a deal with these rare earth minerals and share proceeds. What do you make of that?
Well, actually, it's not true that other countries have made these as loans. The Europeans have contributed billions and billions of dollars to support the Ukrainian people. President Zelensky has made it clear. I mean, he supports American investment in Ukraine. He supports American investment in critical minerals. So certainly there's a deal to be made in that sense. But what Trump is doing is extortion. I mean, can you imagine in the middle of World War II when Hitler and the Nazis were coming after, England and Europe, that FDR says to Churchill, unless you give up half your coal and mineral reserves, we're not going to help defend your freedom and sovereignty. That's outrageous. That's what Donald Trump has been doing.
All right. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on that. We let him have the floor for a long time yesterday while he was giving his speech, and we took it in full. So I want to make sure we hear from the other side of the aisle, too. If we can switch gears, we'll talk about the war in Gaza now. Israel saying that it's going to be delaying the release of around 600 Palestinian prisoners, throwing the future of the fragile Gaza ceasefire deal into doubt. Senator, the first phase of ceasefire this first phase is set to end on March the 2nd. Do you interpret Israel's decision of withholding these prisoners as an attempt to stall the deal ending?
Well, I certainly hope not. Look, the way that Hamas has been handling the hostage release has been absolutely despicable. But I was pleased to hear Steve Witkoff this morning, the president's peace envoy to the Middle East, say that he expected phase 2 negotiations to begin. Phase 2 would bring the war to an end and get all of the hostages released. Unfortunately, Donald Trump's despicable comments about essentially ethnic cleansing in Gaza, moving 2 million Palestinians out of Gaza, has fueled the extreme right in Israel, people like Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, who all along have wanted to see that conclusion, moving people out of Gaza and, in fact, out of the West Bank. So Steve Witkoff is going to have to use all his negotiating skills to succeed in the way he says he wants to.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.